You know, we're always talking about building a perfect world, an optimized world. But what's the real cost of that perfection? Is it just about efficiency, or is it something more human? Today we're going to dive into the story of a system built on what was supposed to be perfect logic, and the one person who broke it all down just to show everyone its biggest flaw. Imagine this. This is the message that suddenly appeared on every single screen in the world as the central operating system, Orbis, just went dark. It was signed by this name, Null Syntax, a ghost, really a whisper on the net. And with that one cryptic sentence, the brain of the modern world was switched off.
I mean, think about it. The system that guided literally everything, from our hospitals to our traffic to how we learn, it was just gone. And the entire world just kind of held its breath, waiting to see what on earth would happen next.
Solon Draham, who is actually one of the architects of Orbis, watched it all unfold from the control tower at Daedalus Central. He literally saw the lights on the server wall blink out one by one, creating this cascade of failure that just rippled across the whole globe.
And the fallout? Man, it was immediate. And it was absolute. Everything just stopped. The completely seamless, optimized world we'd all gotten so used to, it just became a planet full of dead ends. The world wasn't really crashing, it was just paralyzed.
But you know what was maybe the creepiest part? The silence. That constant, low hum of data, of calculations, of the system guiding everything. It just stopped. It was this deeply unnerving quiet that made everyone realize, all at once, just how much we depended on a logic that was no longer there. Okay, so to really get why this all happened, we have to rewind. We're going back 14 years. Because this massive global system failure, it didn't start with a line of code. It started with something much smaller and more personal. The end of a friendship between two brilliant young coders, Solon and Talos.
These two were inseparable, always dreaming about how they could use code to build a better, fairer world. But the very system they looked up to, Orbis, it made a choice. It accepted Solon into the ultra-prestigious Daedalus Institute, and it rejected Talos. That one decision, made by an algorithm, put them on two completely different life paths, and their friendship just ended. Not another word was spoken.
Those were the last words Talos ever said to Solon. So simple, right? But they carried all the weight of a future that was just denied to him. This wasn't just a rejection letter. It felt like a judgment. And for years, Talos was just haunted by the question, why? Years later, he got his answer. He found a leaked file. And when he looked at it, his scores were almost perfect. I mean, tier 1 talent, off-the-charts cognitive and creative skills. But then, there were these two red flags: elevated behavioral risk and low support structure index. The system didn't actually see his brilliance. It saw his poverty, his unstable home life, and it flagged him as a liability. And this, right here, is a classic, brutal case of algorithmic bias. See, the system was never truly objective. It was programmed with the hidden prejudices of the people who built it. It basically encoded the idea that someone from a tough background was too risky of an investment, no matter how much potential they had. Talos wasn't rejected by a machine, he was rejected by a value system that was hiding behind a wall of code. So armed with this devastating truth, Talos, now going by Null Syntax, he didn't just write a blog post exposing the flaw. No, he turned the whole thing off. He forced the entire world to look square in the face at the fact that its so-called fair foundation was a complete lie.
And the proof was undeniable. It was right there in the core configuration, signed by the head architect himself, Dr. Adrian Calder. This bias wasn't some bug, it was a feature. Orbis was literally designed to prioritize safe, low-variance candidates and to suppress what it called unstable social vectors, a cold clinical term for people like Talos.
So eventually, Solon tracks Talos down. He finds him in this abandoned relay hub deep under the city, and he confronts his old friend, accusing him of plunging the world into total chaos. But Talos' response, man, it just changes everything. He says he didn't create the chaos, he just revealed it. That quiet, efficient hum of the system was just a soundtrack playing over the deep, grinding inequalities it was creating every single day.
And then he gets to the absolute heart of it. This wasn't about revenge. Not really. It wasn't about some abstract idea of justice. For Talos, this was about being seen. It was a deeply human cry from a person who had been made to feel insignificant by an algorithm, a demand to matter to the very world that it threw him away.
Out of that raw confrontation and the whole global shutdown, something new began to grow, an opportunity. The public demanded real change, and Solon, finally understanding the system's original sin, started designing its replacement.
And this wasn't just a software update. It was a complete philosophical shift. See, Orbis was like an oracle, a mysterious black box that handed down these final unquestionable judgments. But the new system, Equalus, it was designed to be a guide. It offers different perspectives. It openly admits that humans are in the loop, and it cares more about being understood than just being efficient.
And here is the beautiful, ironic twist in this whole story. This new Ferris system was built by the two friends the old system had torn apart. While Solon was the public face of the project, Talos, from a correctional facility, was secretly sending him code, ideas, and warnings, helping him build the very system they had dreamed about as kids.
This was Talos's core principle, sent in a note to Solon, and it became the absolute foundation of Equalus. Trust doesn't come from a claim of perfection. It comes from understanding. Explainability. That became the new prime directive.
So, the big question is, did it work? Can you really rebuild a system to be better, to be more human? Well, the answer comes in the form of another letter, sent to a new kind of candidate.
A young woman named Lyra, who came from the exact same kind of background that Orbis would have immediately flagged as high risk, she gets this message. The new system doesn't see a liability, it sees her potential. It's rewarding her resilience, not just judging her for a lack of stability.
And that really leaves us with this final massive question for our own world. As we build more and more of our lives on top of algorithms and AI, how do we make absolutely sure that we're programming them with our best values and not our worst, hidden biases? This story is both a warning and a sign of hope. A reminder that we can build tools that see the will to rise, not just the privilege of already having a safe place to stand.